My name is Brian Dorries. I'm the Artistic Director of Theater of War Productions. We are a social impact company that uses theater as a tool for helping communities address pressing public health and social issues. And we are thrilled that you could join us today for our presentation of the Suppliants Project Ukraine. The Suppliants Project Ukraine presents live dramatic readings of Aeschylus's play, The Suppliants, on Zoom, featuring professional actors and a chorus of Ukrainian citizens to help frame global discussions about the war in Ukraine and the unique challenges now faced by the people of Ukraine and those who support them. Using a 2,500-year-old text as a catalyst for powerful international discussion, the Suppliants Project Ukraine seeks to amplify and humanize the voices and perspectives of Ukrainian citizens who will participate in the performance and discussion on their personal devices on Zoom from locations within Ukraine and in neighboring countries. Before getting started, I just want to mention that today's event will be captioned in English on Zoom, so you can use that captioning button at the bottom to access it. English captions. For Ukrainian language captions during the play, they will be in a separate window. So please click on the stream text link in the chat now if you want Ukrainian language. Audio interpretation in both Ukrainian and English will be available during the discussion and during my opening remarks and right now by clicking on the globe bottom at the bottom of your screen and selecting the language. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce my colleague and co-facilitator, Oksana Yakushko, who is going to repeat these details about captioning and audio interpretation in Ukrainian before introducing herself and talking about her special connection to the project. Over to you, Oksana.
Вітаю, hello. Української громади. Субтитри, події, вони маються англійською мовою на Zoom, но є окремо вікно в Zoom, і ви можете отримати доступ до українських субтитрів і натиснути на стрім-текст посилання, що зараз в чаті. Автопереклад може бути зараз і особливо в дискусії після виступу. І ми вдячні нашим перекладачам Гані Стрембовській і Наталії Заєць. І щоб отримати доступ до аудіоперекладу під час дискусії зараз, будь ласка, натисніть на глобус, це кнопка внизу вашого екрану. And I will switch to English as I just wanted to thank you, Brian, and to Theater of War Production. I'm Oksana Yakushka. I'm California-based psychologist, analyst, and scholar. I'm also a Ukrainian immigrant, and I have many family and friends in Ukraine, some of whom are now war refugees. For many years now, I've been an active audience member or appreciative audience member of Theater of War events, deeply appreciating focus on using theater and poetry because it is important to hold these difficult dialogues about many challenging issues that plague our world. When the invasion of Ukraine began, I reached out to Brian and the theater and asked if one of the events could focus on Ukraine. And so I'm deeply grateful to you, Brian, and to Theater of War Production staff for this event today. I'm also very grateful to the artists present today, Shiro, Dyakuyu, to David, to Willem and Oscar for your generosity. And I'm proud to be here with remarkable Ukrainians who will be presenters in the theater event and the discussion afterwards. So I hope that this ancient tragedy today is performed helps us see the war in Ukraine and speak about it together. And to Ukrainians, I just, with all my heart from us in Ukrainian community in diaspora, I hope that you're safe today during events. I know that no place is safe in Ukraine these days, but as you watch, that you are protected and that you feel our solidarity. Вітаю, дякую і слава Україні.
Thank you so much, Oksana. I'd like to extend our sincere gratitude to you for your partnership, commitment these past few months. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you to ensure the success of today's event. As Oksana mentioned, she sent us a cold email earlier in the spring to see if we might be able to present a project for and with Ukrainians. We're here because of that email, but we couldn't have done it without Oksana, who translated the play into Ukrainian, helped us identify the Ukrainian participants for the chorus, took part in rehearsals and worked tirelessly to get the word out to her vast network in Ukraine and overseas. Today's event will be the first of many collaborations with Oksana and with a group of people you're about to meet, and we are eternally grateful to her and to them for bringing the Suppliants Project Ukraine to life. Before getting started, I just want to thank our captioners, Kathy Kortopasi and Dolores Brown, and our audio interpreters, Anya Stemboviska and Natalia Zetz. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Theater of War Productions company manager, Marjolaine Goldsmith, who is the architect of our work on Zoom, who will be conducting tonight's event behind the scenes. And finally, our thanks go to the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation for their support of our digital programming. Today's event will unfold in 3 parts. First, a group of actors and a chorus of Ukrainians will perform Aeschylus's ancient play, The Suppliants, which was first performed nearly 2,500 years ago in Athens during the 5th century BC. Today, we have a group of wonderful actors with us, including Oscar Isaac, Willem Dafoe, and David Strathairn, who will be performing from all over the world. We are also delighted to be joined by 6 brave and inspiring Ukrainians who will be performing the role of the chorus from locations inside and around Ukraine and surrounding countries. They are Kira Misherska, Ludmira Yankina, Dmitro Zaleski, Tatiana and Roman Topezhnikov, and Olena Martinenko. We are thrilled and honored beyond words to have this chorus of Ukrainians with us today to perform the Suppliants and share their stories and their insights, their interpretations, and their truths. When the reading is over, about 45 minutes after we start, the actors will move to the audience and the chorus members will stay, and they'll kick off our conversation with you, the audience, by responding in the moment from their hearts and their guts to what they heard and saw in the play that resonated with their own experiences across culture and time. Following the chorus members' brief opening remarks, we'll then open up the floor to what we hope will be a lively and healing discussion with you, the audience, today. During the discussion, Oksana and I are going to ask questions about the play and how it resonates today. And if you would like to respond to one of our questions, we just ask that you use the raise your hand function at the bottom of Zoom to indicate that you have something to say. And for each question, we'll call upon a number of people who raise their hands and promote them to the screen for the duration of their remarks. This is still new territory for us at Theater of War Productions. This, I think, is our 77th performance on Zoom since the beginning of the pandemic. It's a new way of performing, a new way of communicating. So we apologize in advance that we're not going to get to everyone who raises their hand, and there could be glitches or technical issues during the event, but that is fine. Making mistakes and overcoming them is at the center of our model. Our hope is that by making mistakes and then adapting and moving on from them, we are modeling for you as an audience what we hope you will do during this discussion. We hope you will join us by taking the risk of being present with your thoughts and not sounding brilliant or polished in order to be together in the moment with each other and with us, sometimes even in isolation and without judgment and with shared vulnerability. This is what makes us human, and it's the only way out of this mess. So finally, if you are moved to action by today's event, our chorus members have compiled a list of organizations that are on the ground helping Ukrainians survive. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put these links now in the chat, and you can find them there, and you can click on them now or later, and hopefully today's event will spur you to want to get involved and pursue helping Ukrainians through some of these organizations. Now, here's what you need to know about Aeschylus's play, The Suppliants. As this first scene begins, 50 refugees approach the border of ancient Argos carrying branches in their hands, praying, singing, shouting, calling and responding to one another. They have traveled a great distance across deserts and oceans, seeking asylum and safety from forced marriage and violence brought upon them by their cousins, the sons of Aegyptus. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to our actors and Ukrainian chorus for our reading from Aeschylus's play, The Suppliants.
I call out to Zeus, god of beggars, protector of suppliants. Look upon this caravan with compassion, for we have traveled here for many days across the open ocean, from the fine grain sands in the river Nile, fleeing our holy homeland, whose pastures bordered Syria.
We are not criminals sent into exile, publicly banished for spilling blood, but refugees seeking asylum from violence and unholy matrimony forced upon us by our cousins, the son of Aegyptus.
It Was our father Denias, our leader and guide, who brought us here, choosing the best in series of bad options, spiriting us swiftly across the sea to the rocky shores of Argos.
This is the land from which we came. An entire race sprung up from Zeus' embrace when he forced himself upon Io. That unfortunate girl who became a cow, mercilessly tortured by gag flies and chased halfway across the world.
What other country could we come?
Holding branches in our hands, woven with wool, the symbol of suppliants, that will become us more than this one.
We call out to the city and to our ancestral land with its clear running waters.
We call out to the gods above us and the vengeful ones below, dwelling deep within the earth, watching over the dead.
We call out to Jews, who is guard the homes of richest men. Receive us with kindness and with mercy. Deliver us from danger before a brutal horde of men arrives upon the shores, savage sons of Aeschylus.
Send their ships back out to sea, then batter them with the raging winds and earth-giving rains.
Their decks with lightning and violent waves.
Throwing men overboard into the ocean, drowning them in the churning surf before they ever lay their hands on us again, violating our rights.
Children, please be careful with your words. Mindful that I, your trusted father, led you here across the sea, navigating treacherous waters with caution and skill. Now that we have arrived, I see what awaits us here on shore. Listen closely to what I am about to say. Memorize my words, inscribe them in your minds. There is a cloud of dust on the horizon, kicked up by a chariot wheels and the pounding hooves of horses, carrying men, wielding shields and spears, an army advancing on our position, perhaps the rulers of this land coming to see who we are. No matter what the intentions of their leader may be to welcome us or fiercely attack, it would be best, my children, for you to sit upon that hill, sacred to the gods who gather there, and use it as a shield, for an altar is always stronger than a wall. Move quickly now, with your heads bent down in reverence, and in your hands, hold these branches woven with white wool to show that you are suppliants protected by Zeus. Only speak when you are spoken to, and when you do, be sure to answer their questions with pitiful words in the respectful tone of foreigners seeking refuge in their land. Tell them why you fled your country, assuring them that you are not criminals sent into exile for shedding blood. Do this all without seeming arrogant or overreaching in your speech. You must always appear modest and calm, casting your eyes down toward the ground, showing these men the utmost respect. You must not come across as bold, self-important, or too eager to speak, nor should you seem hesitant or halting, for a slight slip in either direction will offend these people to no end. Remember this, be submissive. You are foreigners and fugitives in need of their assistance. In order to seem weak, you must not use language that is strong.
Father, once again, you have given us sound advice, which we promise to obey, always remembering your wise words.
I call upon Zeus, father of our people, to see us and our struggle.
Yes, may he look down upon us with kindness.
Father, may we come down and sit by your side, over there at the base of altar.
Come down quickly, my children, do not delay.
We call out to Zeus, have pity upon us in our moment of need, or we may be destroyed.
With his mercy and his grace, all will turn out well in the end.
Call out to Helios with his healing rays.
To save us.
And to Apollo, who, although a god, was once exiled from heaven.
He understands our pain and will no doubt show compassion for us mortals.
May he stand by our side and defend us from our enemies.
What other gods should we invoke?
I see a trident here on this altar, sacred symbol of the god Poseidon.
He saw us safely across the sea.
May he receive us here on land.
Here is one more, Hermes, the messenger god, as he is known by the Greeks.
Maybe he deliver good news.
And deliver us to freedom.
They are almost here. Gather around the altar at the feet of these gods who rule over the city. Sit upon this sacred soil like a flock of doves, shivering in fear of the hawks circling above them. Kindred enemies that prey upon their own species, polluting their race with the blood of other birds, an unholy act. For how can a bird be pure if it preys on one of its own? In the same way, how can a man who forces himself in marriage upon a woman against her wishes without the blessings of her father be pure? There is a special place in Hades for such a man after he dies, for it is said that another Zeus rules over the land of the dead, sitting in judgment over such evil deeds. Here they come. Keep your eyes down and speak to them just as I said, and you will elicit sympathy and win victory in the end.
Strangers, where are you from? Your clothing is not Greek, but barbarian. From the weave of your robes, I can see that you are not from Argos or any part of Greece for that matter. How fearless you all are, how brave to come to this country without a messenger, a guide, or even a guard for protection. I am impressed, and I see those suppliant branches there by your side before the gods who gather at these altars. As a Greek, I suppose I could venture a guess as to what this all means, but since you're here, I'd prefer to hear it from you.
What he was said about our clothing is correct. But before I say more, I need to know how to address you. Are you a citizen, a messenger, or the ruler of the city?
Please feel free to speak to me and answer all of my questions, for I am Pelasgus of Palakthion, the earthborn first of men who came straight from the soil. I am the ruler of this land. The people here who work the earth with their hands are called Pelasgians. We call this area Appia after an ancient seer and healer, the son of Apollo, who rid this land of man-eating monsters, a deadly nest of snakes that sprung up from the earth and terrorized our people. Ever since he cured our land of this sickness, we have honored Apis by remembering him in our prayers. Now that I have told you all about Argos, tell me about your family and the land from which you came, but please be brief, as our citizens do not appreciate speeches that go on for too long.
Our story is short and cuts straight to the point.
We are Argives by birth, descendants of a cow that was blessed with a child.
We will gladly verify the truth of this statement, if you would like to know more.
I'm confused, strangers, by your strange words. How could you possibly come from Argos? You look like Libyans to me and certainly bear no resemblance to the people of this land. Please explain to me simply and clearly so I can understand how to trace your family back to Argos.
Is it said that long ago Io once served as a priestess in the temple of Hera, here in Argos?
Yes, of course, we've all heard this story.
And does the same story recount how Zeus lusted after a mortal?
Yes, and how Hera was aware of the affair.
And what became of the poor girl?
Hera turned into a cow.
And when she grew horns, did Zeus approach her?
Yes, they say he took the form of a bull.
How did Hera react?
She sent an all-seeing 100-eyed giant to watch the cow.
And who was this all-seeing sentinel?
Argos, son of the earth. Hermes
And
blinded
what
and slew
other-
him, ordered to do so by Zeus.
And what other tortoise did Hera devise for the cow?
She sent a fly to sting her backside and keep her hind legs moving.
We call it a gadfly.
It drove her galloping out of this land to regions far from Argos.
Our stories are exactly the same. It chased her all the way to Egypt, straight into Zeus' embrace, which gave her a child.
And who is it that claims to be the calf?
Epiphas, whose name means touch, in honor of how he was conceived.
And who came from Epiphas?
A daughter named Libya, who helped harvest the land in the largest regions of the earth.
And who came from her?
Twin sons, named Agenor and Belus.
Belus was the father of my father.
He had 2 sons.
What is your father's name?
Aeneas, his father, has 50 sons.
Speak clearly and do not hold anything. What is his brother's name?
Egyptus. Now that you know the history of our family, stretching all the way back to Argos, we pray that you will provide us sanctuary.
Well, from what you have said, it seems that you do have some ancient connection to Argos. But what grave misfortune made you abandon your fatherland and brought you to our shores?
Lord of the Pelasgians, the fortunes of mortals come in many colors.
And almost never exactly the same.
Who could ever have predicted that our sudden and unexpected flight from violence would bring us back to Argos, where our ancient family began?
Is that why you have come here as suppliants, standing before these gathered gods with those fresh cut branches in your hands woven with wool?
Yes, to avoid becoming slaves to the sons of Egyptus.
But what is it exactly you would have me do without violating my sacred duties?
When the sons of Egyptus come for us, do not turn us over to them.
But that is no small request. You are asking me to start a war.
Those who are just always protect their allies from harm.
Yes, if they are truly allies from the beginning.
Do not honor their gods when their altars are covered with suppliant branches?
Just looking at them now, wreathed with leaves, fills me with fear, for I do not wish to incite the all-consuming anger of Zeus, god of beggars, of suppliants.
Son of Plankton, ruler of the Pelasgians, hear our prayer with compassion and an open heart.
See us.
We are fugitives.
Escaping from danger like cattle hunted by wolves.
Calling out to their headsman for help.
Yes, I see you kneeling here before the gods and asking for assistance under the shade of freshly cut branches, but I also see violence on the horizon. If we should welcome you within our walls, extending a hand of friendship. So I say this, may no unexpected disaster come from granting your request. No military conflict or civil unrest for which this city does not wish.
May Themis' daughter, Zeus, goddess of justice, who protects all suppliants, look upon our struggle and ensure that it brings you no unwanted trouble.
I hope that you, who are older and more experienced, will listen to younger voices with an open heart, showing mercy for us, suppliants, and reverence for what is sacred.
Please understand, you are not sitting in front of the hearth in my private home. If the entire city is sickened, stained by a source of pollution, then its people must collectively work on a cure. I will make no promises until I have spoken with all of the citizens whose lives will be affected by this decision.
But you are the city. You are the people. As a king, ruling over the city's hearts and temples, you are subject to no one.
The people bend to your singular will and your sovereign throne.
Do not pollute the city with your indecision.
May pollution only infect our enemies. I cannot help you without possibly harming the city and risking an all-out war, but it would also be dangerous to ignore your prayers and reject your supplications. I am utterly conflicted, paralyzed by an overwhelming fear of taking action and making the wrong decision. No matter what I choose to do, I could bring great suffering upon this city.
Look to the God high bow looking down upon us now, judging our actions, the protector of poor mortals, who, in their abject suffering, call out to friends and neighbors for assistance, but are not treated justly, in accordance with custom.
The righteous wrath of Zeus, god of suppliants, awaits all those who choose not to hear the cries of the suffering.
But if the laws of your country state that the sons of Egyptus have every right to claim your women as their wives, given that they are next of kin, who would dare stand in their way? You must make your case in accordance with the laws of the country from which you came, showing they have no authority over you.
May we never be subjuged by the man or live under their authority.
In order to escape these toxic bonds, are ready to run away again, charting our course by the stars.
This is by no means an easy decision, and you will not force me to make it. Although I am king, I will not do anything without the agreement of my people. So they will not say when fortune turns against us, you honored these aliens and destroyed the city.
Bonded by blood on both sides of the struggle.
Zeus hears all arguments and judges them impartially, allowing just punishments to evil men and rewarding the righteous.
With such an even-handed arbiter presiding over these affairs, why hesitate to do what is right?
First, I must seek the counsel of our citizens so deep and resolute that like a diver swimming to the bottom of the ocean, I will see everything clearly and without any confusion, so that above all, no trouble will ever come to this city, and we shall neither start a conflict by letting you enter our gates, nor shall we incite the unrelenting anger of the gods, which even after death does not abate, for abandoning you before these sacred altars. Surely you see our need for wise and measured counsel.
Speak with your people, then stand by our side in holy reverence for what the gods demand.
Do not betray a group of fugitives who have been driven from their homeland by godless men.
You are the ruler of this land.
Do not look upon our suffering as we are abducted from these altars and do nothing.
Witness the reckless violence of this man and avoid the wrath of God.
Do not stand by idly as we suppliants are dragged away from this consecrated place, like horses pulled by bridles with beads between our teeth and vulgars, groping hands all over our finely woven robes.
Know this, no matter what you should decide, whatever happens to us will have consequences for your home and for your children, who will be left to pay in full for what is done to us.
Do not forget that the laws of God are righteous and always just.
Yes, I am aware of this. I find myself standing at a crossroads. Either way, I may plunge this city into unending violence brought upon us by gods or men. There is no path that does not lead to catastrophe. In order to avoid the bloodshed to come, we must make sacrifices to the gods, slaughtering many animals at their altars with the hope of saving ourselves from impending disaster. This will be the end of my reign, for I had no desire to wade into these waters. I hope I am wrong, but also do not wish to now foresee the evils that await me. May it all go well, defying my expectations.
Please hear our final appeal for mercy and compassion.
Speak, I am listening. Your words will not escape my ears.
We have woven belts to gather our ropes.
Yes?
But they can be used for other purposes.
What exactly do you mean by that? What are you trying to say?
If you refuse to welcome us into the city by pledging your support, then we will be forced to use them.
In what way?
To decorate the status of the gods with strange offers.
Speak plainly, do not cloak your words with riddles.
We will tie these belts around our necks
And hang ourselves from your altars.
Your words lacerate my heart.
Now you understand, for we have helped you see clearly.
Yes, and you have left me to wrestle with questions that have no easy answers. In every direction, I see a flood of troubles rushing this way, a wave of utter destruction crashing upon a bottomless sea of suffering, impossible to avoid or even traverse. There is no safe harbor or sanctuary from this storm. For if I do not welcome you into the city and protect you from danger, as is your sacred right, then you will bring pollution upon this land by committing unspeakable acts. But if I stand here before the city walls and wage war against your cousins, the sons of Egyptus, it will also come at great cost, for the earth will be stained with the blood of our men fighting on behalf of foreigners. I fear the anger of Zeus, protector of beggars and suppliants, most of all, as is only right, for he demands reverence from us mortals. I ask that you and your children go gather these branches quickly and place them on the altars within the city, so the people will see that you have come as suppliants, seeking asylum, and will not speak critically of me, for those in power always make easy targets. It is possible that some of our citizens will be moved to compassion by your actions and will rise up in hatred against this rowdy group of men and will treat you all with kindness, as it is easier to feel sympathy for the weak.
We are incredibly grateful and moved to have found such a passionate advocate. But please send us some of your men as escorts and guides, so I may find the altars and shrines of the gods that watch over your homes while moving safely through the city. We do not look like we come from this land. Be careful that in your overconfidence you do not precipitate my death, for men have killed friends without knowing who they are.
Accompany this stranger into the city and show him the shrines and sacred temples. Do not speak to those you meet along the way. As you lead this man who sailed across the sea to be a suppliant at our altars.
You spoke, he obeyed, and now he is gone. But what about us? What should we do, and what can you offer us?
Take your suppliant branches which signal your distress and set them down beside you.
We will place them down here, just as you said.
Now come down from that hill and stand over there where the ground is level.
But will we still be safe if the ground is not holy?
We will not allow the birds of prey to swoop down and attack you.
But what if there are poisonous snakes waiting in the grass?
You speak as if threatened by my words, but they were meant to soothe you.
We are shaken and afraid and do not feel safe. This should not come as a shock.
Yes, but fear begets more fear if it's left unchecked.
We would be far less fearful if you reassured us with actions as well as words.
Fair enough. You will not be alone here for long. Your father will return soon. I will go gather the citizens in the city and attempt to appeal to their better natures and put them in a friendly mood. And I will instruct your father on what to say and how best to say it to these men to elicit their sympathy. You should stay here and pray to the gods of this city to fulfill your desires while I go make the case on your behalf. Let us hope my arguments persuade them and fortune smiles upon us all today.
Be of good cheer, for the citizens of this city have voted in our favor, delivering their ruling with full authority after a public debate.
Dear Father, welcome messenger. We salute you for reunion with such auspicious news.
But tell us what the people decide.
What did the majority declare their votes?
The Argos did not flinch, but took action so quickly that it lifted my spirits and made this gray-haired man feel young again. The air was filled with right hands as far as I could see, as they all shot up in unison, and with a vote, full vote of the gathered assembly, the motion became law. We are free to settle in this city. No one may seize us or take us away from this place as hostages or captives. The Argos have pledged to protect us from any man who tries to rob or capture us. And should our enemies try to take us with violent force, Any man who holds land and refuses to help rescue the suppliants will forfeit his property and be banished. That is what the king of the Pelasgians said on our behalf, made all the more persuasive when he warned them that the wrath of Zeus, protector of suppliants, would descend upon the city and never relent should they violate their sacred duty to protect us. He spoke of a double curse, for we are foreigners who are also from this country. And hearing those words spoken so passionately and forcefully by Pelasgus, the people of Argos did not even bother to wait for the herald to call for a vote, but raised their hands to affirm what must be done. The king made the case with great eloquence and precision, but it was Zeus in the end who brought this all to fruition.
Come, let us say a prayer for an Argives, blessing them in turn for blessing us.
May Zeus, God of strangers, hear these songs of thanks from the lips of strangers and help us reach our destination.
I applaud your desire to pray, my children. It is prudent to pray at moments like this. But please, do not be fearful or overwhelmed by the sudden and troubling things your father is about to say. From up here on this high shrine for suppliants, looking out over the sea, I can see the ship. There is no way I could miss it. The cut of the sails, the bend of the boards, the eyes on the front of the prow, always looking forward, scanning the waters ahead, a formidable vessel that obeys the guiding rudder in the stern far too skillfully for those who try to pursue her. I can also see the men. It is unmistakably them, their bronze-skinned limbs exposed by white clothes. The rest of the ships are plainly in view as well, a full fleet that has come to assist them. And the lead ship now approaches the shore with her sails furled and men pulling oars through the surf. You must face this situation calmly and with self-control, never forgetting the gods on this hill. I will go find our friends and bring back an army of men ready to stand by our side and make our case. A messenger may come, eager to seize you and take you all back to the ships, but he will not succeed. Have no fear, I will return with help. If it takes too long, I suggest you all seek refuge on these altars. You must summon all of your courage and remember that those who disrespect the gods will always be punished in the end.
We are afraid, Father. How can we not be afraid?
The ships arrive so quickly. They will be here any minute.
We are scared, Father, and trembling with fear.
What if our long voyage here was all for nothing?
Summon your courage, my children. Since the Argives voted so swiftly to defend us, I know they will arrive in time to fight.
The sons of Aegyptus have come for blood, in dark template ships with an army of heartless men.
We try to outrun their rage, but it has overtaken us.
Yes, but they will soon find an army of battle-hardened men awaiting them on these shores.
Do not leave us here. We beg you, Father.
These men are ruthless and like scavengers searching for carrion. They will not hesitate to snatch us from these altars.
All the more reason the gods will be on our side, my children. Let these men desecrate the temples and then pay with their lives.
Father, these men are not afraid of tridents or any other scarlet symbols.
These objects will not stop them from putting their hands upon us, nor will the thought of divine retribution.
Possessed by their unholy rage, they are like shameless dogs with no reverence for the gods.
Yes, but as it is said, dogs can be broken by wolves.
They are not men.
They are savage animals with the unchecked appetites of wild beasts.
We must protect ourselves as best as we can.
A fleet of ships is always slow to set sail and to anchor, for it takes some time to secure the cables which must be brought ashore, especially when arriving on a coast that has no harbor. The captains will not give the order for their forces to move ashore until their ships are moored in the mainland. I know you are afraid, but remember this. I will return as soon as I have secured reinforcements. The city will not reject this messenger. He may be old, but his heart and tongue are still young and nimble.
Oh, no. No, no.
Here on the land, my captor from the sea has finally arrived to capture me.
These savage beasts pursue us on the land and the sea.
May the gods of earth protect us.
Come down from there immediately, or we shall pull you down by your hair, ripping it out by the roots, then beat you senseless on the ground with those branches until you stop groaning. Or we will sever your heads with our swords, sending rivers of blood flowing out to the ocean. Come down here now and start making your way to the ship.
If you only had died at sea, choking upon a waves and brine that would have silenced your pride.
Stop shrieking and whining and come down from those shrines. I have no respect for refugees without city or home. The ship is waiting to take you back to the country from which you came.
Never again may we see the river Nile, which feeds the cattle, and the land with its life-giving waters like blood running through a body.
Argos is now our home, old man, from which is our ancient ancestor came.
Get down from there. That is an order. Do not make me come up there and bring you down myself, or I assure you will wish you had come down on your own.
May you die the worst kind of death at sea, driven off course by furious winds.
Battered by merciless waves, your ship splintered to bits by sandy shoals and shoaled wall by bottomless abyss.
Keep screaming and wailing and calling out to the gods for assistance. You shall never escape the Egyptian ship.
May the mighty Nile rise up and silence your arrogant speech.
Come now, or I will come up there and get you.
Father, we are afraid, for these sacred altars seem to offer us no protection.
Like a spider, he is climbing up the side of this hill to haul us out to the sea.
Mother Earth, turn him away before he reaches us here at the top.
Father Zeus, save us.
I am not afraid of these archive gods, for they did not raise me, nor will they care for me in my old age.
Like some deadly snake, he's moving in for the kill, opening his sharp jaws to strike my foot.
If you refuse to come quickly, quietly, then I will have no choice but to rip off your robes.
All is lost.
King of Argos, where are you now when we need you?
The only kings that you will ever know are the sons of Aegyptus.
Leaders of this city, hear our cries.
Stop this man from visiting us with violence.
You there! Laying hands on those seeking shelter at our altars, tell me what has possessed you to disrespect this city and our citizens. Perhaps you thought that you had come to a country populated only by women. Well, this was a grave mistake. Now that you see the Argive army standing here before you, I am sure you understand the error in your thinking.
Where have I been wrong or done anything that is not my right?
First of all, as a foreigner, you have not shown the proper respect to this city.
Tell me this. How is it disrespectful to claim what is mine?
To what authority did you appeal for permission to enter our land and take something from it?
Hermes the Searcher, the greatest authority.
You speak of gods for whom you clearly have no reverence.
I worship other gods.
So our gods mean nothing to you then?
Unless one of you plans to stop me. I am seizing these people as my property and taking them back to the ship.
If you touch them, you will soon come to regret it.
I hear you. and your words are not welcoming.
We do not welcome strangers here who loot our sacred altars.
I will go now and tell the sons of Aegyptus about how you have spoken to me.
Do whatever you like. This is not my concern.
As a messenger, it is my sacred duty to convey things clearly and accurately, just so I fully understand. What should I tell the sons of Aegyptus about the man who stole what rightfully belongs to them? The god of war does not question witnesses or hear oral arguments, nor does he accept silver to settle disputes. Before all is done, many of your men will have lost their lives in battle.
You shall soon learn my name in due time, but for now, there's no need to share it. As for these people, feel free to take them back to your ship. That is, if you can convince them with righteous, irrefutable arguments to go of their own free will. Otherwise, the people of Argos have voted by unanimous decree to never allow them to be taken from this city against their will by force. This is not negotiable. Our citizens have spoken. Though it has not yet been written on stone tablets or sealed in the creases of books, you will hear it clearly if you listen to the free speech of our people who are resolved to see this through to the end. Go now and get out of my sight as quickly as possible.
It seems to me you wish to start a war. May power and victory reside with the men.
Yes, the men of this city, whom you will soon come to know in combat. Suppliants, you must summon all your courage and travel past the defensive walls through heavy fortifications, past bunkers and high towers ringing the city until you reach the safety of our homes, where you may stay for as long as you like as the honored guests of our people, or if you would prefer to live on your own, that can be arranged. Simply tell us what would make you most comfortable. We, the people of Argos, are now your protectors. Why wait for others with higher authority? It's time to come down from that hill.
Noble King, Pelasgus, we are humbled by your kindness and only wish to fill this land with our blessings.
But please send our father, Danaus, our leader and guide, to accompany us through the city.
Above all others, we defer to his judgment about where we should live and in which homes.
Strangers entering a new country are never truly welcome.
People are always ready to blame those who speak in foreign tongues
for all of their problems.
That's the end of our presentation from Aeschylus's ancient play, The Suppliants. I want to thank our incredible chorus of Ukrainians and as well as our actors. And we're going to bring everyone back on the screen. But while we're doing that, I want to thank Ludmila, Dimitro, Kira, Roman, and Tatiana, Olena, for all of your contributions, for all the hard work you put into doing this. We're so grateful to you. If we were in a live setting, there'd be uproarious applause from the thousands of people who are watching right now, but all you have is me expressing my immense gratitude. And to David Struthern and to Oscar Isaac and to Willem Dafoe, thank you guys so much for your contributions. It's so wonderful to be with you and to bring you together with our chorus. We're grateful to you for saying yes when we write to you, and hope to see you again very soon. We're going to now put the actors in the audience. And as we begin to do that, I just want to plant the first seed of the first question we're going to ask you as an audience as soon as we're done with the chorus members' immediate responses to what they heard and saw in the play that spoke to them and resonated with them. And just as a reminder, we're now moving into the portion where the discussion itself will be translated via audio, and you can access the two audio channels, English and Ukrainian, by clicking on the globe at the bottom of your screen. So if someone speaks in Ukrainian, you'll hear it in English. If someone speaks in English, you'll hear it in Ukrainian, depending on which channel you're on. And it's a wonderful feature from Zoom, and we're grateful to our two interpreters out there who are helping us today. So here's the question we'd like to ask you as an audience to think about before we hear from our chorus members. And then as soon as they're done, we'll come straight to you, the audience, and we'll open up this sort of global conversation that we're about to have by inviting you to join them on the screen. This play, These Suppliants, was written sometime in the 5th century BC. almost 2,500 years ago, in a time of mass migration and of war into ancient Athens. And in spite of the distance of culture and time, in spite of everything that separates us from the Greeks who performed and received and probably talked about this play the way we're going to talk about it today, what spoke to you as audience members across time? What resonated with you hearing a chorus of Ukrainians read these words? What touched you? What lines jumped out at you? What seemed true? Now we're going to come to the audience in just a second, but before we do, and I already see some people raising their hands to that question, and we welcome your hands, we're going to turn things over to our chorus members who are going to introduce themselves and launch directly into their gut responses to what they experienced today as performers, but also what they heard in the play that spoke to them Saturday, July 16th in Ukraine and in countries around Ukraine right now. So over to you, Ludmila, if you wouldn't mind going first, I invite you to introduce yourself and launch directly into your comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. My name is Ludmila Yankina, and I'm Ukrainian human rights defender. And after February 24th, after the full-scale invasion of Russian Federation to Ukraine, I became not only human rights defender, but medical and humanitarian volunteer to help people to deliver the food and the water and medicine. And, you know, like, it was very hard time, and now it is very hard time for Ukrainians now, and not just from the February 24th, but from the 2014, you know, because the war is going on already more than 8 years. And now millions of people, millions of Ukrainians became fugitive refugees, you know, and it is millions of broken families, millions of taken like opportunities, broken lives, and people must go run away from the war, and it is very painful. And when you offered me to take a part in the theater, and when I read this scenario, I thought that like this tragedy about 2,500 years ago, but still it is like, it is half place, you know, because we are in modern world, and the war must not have a place in modern world, but it is, and someone like started it, you know, and but someone still may have a responsibility for it, for taking lives, for refugees, for broken families. And one line, a special, very special line for me, found in myself, very like, it is like sounds inside of me like, I wish I say these words to Putin and his army, or someone who pushed the button and shoot the missiles. If you please, I can read this line, if you let me, please. Know this: no matter what you should decide, whatever happens to us will have consequences for your home and for your children, who will be left to pay in full for what is done to us. So many things, bad things done to Ukrainians, and Russian Federation and Putin may be brought to responsibility for all this horror what is done to us.
Thank you so much, Ludmila. It's such an honor to have you with us, and thank you for being the first. I really appreciate you pulling that line out and talking about the consequences of violence. I feel like this play is really speaking to the curse of violence and how violent. Palaska says fear begets fear if left unchecked, but violence also begets violence, and there are consequences to violence. And how do we break the cycle of violence when someone has pushed the button that's launching rockets over your country today? How do we break that cycle without more violence, and you know, and for generations to come? This is what's at stake in the play. I should mention, and I wanted to, that this is not the end of the story. Of course, the Pelasgians, they welcome, the Argives welcome the suppliants into the city and they protect them, but then they go to war on their behalf. And in the next play that we don't have, but we know what happens in it, Pelasgus, the king, dies, and he knows that's what's at stake. The complexity of what is at stake and how do we address violence in our world, as you say, where there should be no place for violence, there should be no place for war, but here it is, and we're here to talk about it today. So I appreciate you bringing those words to the fore. Elena, do you mind going second? You seemed like you were, yeah, go right ahead.
Hello, everybody, my name is Elena, and I represent here Good Bread Bakery located in Kiev. Before the war, we gave people with mental disabilities a chance to socialize, but the war changed everything, and hundreds and thousands of people need food. So now we bake bread and distribute it for free. Our bread is given to soldiers, to police, to hospital patients, and also for people in need and people that now are refugees. So I truly understand this strategy, and that it's really difficult for these people that are refugees now to beg for help, because they not deserve it, because they not choose this way to live, and they are not criminals. They are really people that are seeking asylum and they need a lot of help. So I think that this strategy truly shows the situation that we have nowadays, and Ukrainians in Ukraine and abroad, in Europe, in USA, in Canada, all over the world, they need to ask for help, to beg for help. And it's really very sad for us, for Ukrainians. And I actually agree with this line in tragedy that we are not criminals sent into exile, and we not deserve this way. So I really thank you for this chance to say these words and to try to show other people that we have this way after many years after the strategy was wrote.
Thank you so much, Elena, and thank you for what Good Bread does. It's so inspiring to hear about it before and now during the war. And we share so many values with our company, and it's so great to be able to highlight yours and also your perspective about the lines that you said. We are not criminals sent into exile. And yet Danaos says, you must be submissive, you must be weak, you must bow your heads, you must not speak too much, you must approach the new countries with a form of submission that's almost like you're accused of something, having done something to deserve what's happening to you. And in the cross chatter, or even in the lead up to this event, we've been spammed with emails, as I'm sure you've heard, with people making accusations about Ukrainians, bringing this upon themselves. But of course, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the fact that that's the knee-jerk response of people who may not be willing to look at the suffering that this is causing. Yes. Not just in women and children, although that's where our media attention goes, obviously, and that's important, but also ordinary citizens and also foreign nationals and students who are inside Ukraine and now in the diaspora leaving Ukraine at this present moment at borders asking for help in the same way that you describe. Thank you so much for being second. It's really grateful to you. Kira, do you mind going third? Over to you.
Sure. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Kira Mishirskaya. I'm 12 years old, and I am a film and theater actress. And in the beginning of the war, I saw a lot of videos about the war, about the Ukraine, and now I still can watch it and I still see it. And when I watch all of these videos and photos and everything, all of these awful things, I want to shout, really. To shout out so loud. And it seemed to me that Russian people are like simply deaf, and they need to scream loudly about pain and death, and that it's all true and happening in 21st century. But now I understand that it's useless and they won't hear. I am an ordinary child who lives in Ukraine. My aunt spent the whole marriage in captivity in European with Russian soldiers, and she buried her mother, neighbors in the courtyard with her own hands. My beloved teacher was killed in Chernihiv region. I'm sorry. In my grandmother's house lived Russian soldiers. You know, I never thought that I would talk about the war in the age of 12. I never thought that the war will happen to me. So please help us to survive. Help Ukraine to survive. We don't want to kill anyone. We just want to live in our home with our parents, go to school, meet my friends, laugh happily with them. So don't leave us. Just help us to deal with this war. And I really want to tell a phrase from our performance. Look to the God, high above looking down upon us now, judging our actions, the protector of poor mortals who, in their abject suffering, call out to friends and neighbors for assistance, but are not treated justly in accordance with custom. I just really like this phrase. That's, I guess, my favorite, and it had sense. So, and also I'm really grateful that I'm here now. I haven't even dreamed about something in this kind. So thank you so much for giving me this chance.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kira, for everything you've shared, for your courage, for being with us these last couple of weeks. I'm very sorry for all the losses you mentioned, and I acknowledge them. I have a daughter the same age as you, and it cuts straight to the point, as you said. Everything you said cuts straight to the point, straight to the heart. And also, Kira, early on, when we first reached out to her, made clear that though she couldn't serve in the army, she felt she could serve as an actor, and we were grateful to have her service in this way. And I think you'll keep serving, I have no doubt, and continue to find ways to serve through your work and through your words. Thank you so much, Kira. Roman and Tatiana, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, we'd be grateful.
Hello to everyone. I'm Tatiana. I lived in Mariupol. Beautiful life with our friends, with our relatives, but one morning we wake up in new reality. There was war, and we stay in occupied city for 2 months. Since when it was possible to leave it, the first question was my first phrase in play: what country should we go? We don't know, we don't have nothing. And after being forced to remain silent in order to survive an occupation, it was a great gift to be able to speak about our fears and horrors which are happened every day in our country. We see it in a play, and it's not a play, it's our life every day, every moment. No safe place in our country. Now we're refugees in Germany, but our heart in Ukraine. We want to live in our homes in peace, and even now we say never again and wish peace to everyone. Please spoke to your friends, to your relatives, and going to support us. It's very important. And I want to thank you and your group for opportunity to participate in this project. Thanks.
Thanks all who hearing us, and I am a scientist. I am a professor in economics. I am Dean of Mariupol State University in Ukraine, in Kiev, now in Kiev. Our university is refuge as and me. I refuge and now I'm in Germany, but my heart in Mariupol, because a lot of friends, my parents, still stay at this town. And I say, please help Ukraine. Please help Ukraine survive. Help Ukraine be stronger. And I hope that Ukraine win in this war. It's war. Sometimes I don't mean that in 21st century the war is nearest by me, nearest by my children, and nearest by my students, nearest by my parents, my places, liked places, and it's a reality. And I reading this some strophe, people are always ready to blame those who speak in foreign tongues for all of these problems. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot of this project to hear us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Roman and Tatiana. I was really struck when you read today, when you said those lines that you mentioned. Tatiana had the line, "To what other country could we come?" Speaking from Germany as a refugee, having left her own country after the violence brought upon Mariupol. And Roman, people are always ready to blame those who speak in foreign tongues. And then Tatiana's last lines, for all of their problems. There's something to be discussed in that as well. And I appreciate we can even broaden the conversation in a way that is inclusive of the global community when you say that, and also simultaneously talk about the challenge to Ukrainians as well, crossing borders. Immigrants around the world share in solidarity that experience. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate everything you brought. Last but not least, Dimitro, over to you.
Thank you, Brian, for this project. I'm Dmitro. I'm a psychiatrist, a psychoanalyst, Jungian analyst, and I have a practice. And in 2014, I served in Ukrainian army and took part of the Russian-Ukrainian war from the beginning. And now I'm keep my practice, and I took part in territorial defense, like a medical doctor, and I work with first voluntary mobile hospital, Pirogova. That's our organization for voluntary organization for help. And now I'm in two role. I'm a double role. One, I'm keep my practice, and on the other hand, I try to be useful for the Ukrainian army. What I would want to say about that's interesting that the point of Aeschylus. It's very interesting for me. It's this place in this play that the suppliants try to find some understanding with Pelasgius. Yes, and it's interesting. They try to check about stories about Io, and they understand that they have a same story, have a same narratives, like we have the same history, and maybe we come back, we have the same ancestors. And I think this is the same situation I feel with my foreign friends from Europe and from America and from the, it's like I also feel like we come back to something, and we have the same attitude. I mean, for example, democracy, for example, I know our attitudes to truth and to law, you know, and we understand that we are really the same, that we have the same value. And I understand maybe that's a main point. And of course, we feel a lot of support from our people from the West, not only from the West, from the Japan, for example. I have a fantastic conversation with my colleagues from Japan and from all over the world. And this project, Brian, what I'm feeling about this project, especially this project, you know, the Jungians have this idea from Jung. It's like unus mundi. It's like soul of the world. And I could just imagine how we talk now about that, about these topics. And this, we're speaking around the world, the whole world. And maybe it will help to everybody and for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dimitro. I really love that last point. I'm the son of two mental health psychologists, and so this point about Jungian analysis is not lost on me, that through a pandemic and now war, we have been motivated to cultivate a kind of global consciousness. And this tool of Zoom and theater from the ancient world, meeting Zoom, creates this space where we can actually share consciousness. I also love your comment. It's not just that you might share ancestors, it's that you share values with the countries to which you are appealing for help. Values of democracy, values of free press, values of rule of law, anti-authoritarian values, and that those are as important, if not more important, than any ancestors that might be shared. I really appreciate all those comments. I want to thank these incredible panelists and chorus members for opening up our dialogue, for sharing so much with us between their performances and their interpretations of what they heard that spoke to them across time. And I'd like to open it up to the audience, and we're going to again restate the question, simply, in spite of the distance of culture and time, what spoke to you across time, what resonated with you, what was true. Now, before we go to Maria, who is our first audience member, Oksana, I wondered if you might like to respond to what you've heard so far, playing both roles as having started this project and now having experienced it. I wanted to give you the floor, and then we'll go to Maria in just 1 second. Oksana.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you all. Дякую. As a Ukrainian, to hear our stories and having been with family and friends in Ukraine, I just want to, through this play, to amplify the suffering, suffering in war. And so grateful to you and everyone who's doing the work too, and surviving. And so I hope that all of us here, as someone who's been in the United States for 30 years, I also want to kind of think about in the play that the emphasis on the gods and the commitment to something that is above us all as humanity, and is it today human rights, and for Ukrainians as a human right to have a life and to have a self-determining life. What unites us as a global community? And I think that play is also trying to speak to that. So I think I just want to kind of highlight that I live maybe like many people in the diaspora kind of space here and there. And I am so hope the war ends and the suffering ends and we all unite as a world for human rights. So thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Oksana. It's great to hear you bridging these worlds. You're the reason we're here, and I'm grateful for all of that you brought. Maria, you are the first of our audience members to raise their hand. So over to you, if you don't mind unmuting yourself, introducing yourself. What spoke to you? What resonated with you? What was true?
Well, almost everything. Because unfortunately, this plays still relevant to what's happening now. And these first moments, the family came to ask to help. It's so familiar, unfortunately, and it's actually so sad and to understand that this is happening right now in our world, because on 23rd of February, I didn't think about it. I haven't thought that it may happen. Like, there were a lot of rumors, of course, but some part of me still was thinking that no, it can happen. It's like 21st century. But the 21st of February became, I think, the worst day in our lives that we will remember, all of Ukrainians, and I think not only Ukrainians, because I think the world changed a little bit after that. And now what's happening, it's just the worst that can happen. And when we see all of these photos, videos from our cities, Vinnytsia, Mariupol, Bucha, it's just, you still want to think that this is just a nightmare.
Thank you so much, Maria. I really appreciate that. You know, this is the first time in the history of our company, which is called Theater of War Productions, that we're performing for people in an active war zone, and you bringing your present tense perspective that you're experiencing this war and yet still can't process the fact that it's happening and that it feels like a nightmare, is so powerful for us to hear. And it brings us closer to what the characters in the play obviously might be feeling as well. And it brings a sort of truth and a connection to the exchange that's invaluable. So thank you. It's also wonderful to have another young person be part of the conversation after Kira, and to hear your perspective. But stick around, you may want to speak again. Hayan, you are next. I hope I got your name right, but if I didn't, you can correct me, if you don't mind unmuting yourself.
You said my name correctly, and oh my god, first of all, sorry for my bad English. I'm Korean, so maybe my English would be fluent, but anyway, oh, the theater was amazing. This is my first time I was in theater, and actually I was not expecting a lot because it's Zoom, but it kind of felt like I was in the first row, but the very lower row of the theater, because it was I was so deep into it. It was an amazing experience, and actually I was here for a very lighthearted, because I was a fan of Oscar Isaac actually. But after the whole things going on of the Suppliants and listening to what the real Ukrainian are thinking, it gave me a lot of idea for thinking. And when Kira says something about what she experienced and what she wants right now, I really cried with her, because like, she's 12. She has to experience all the lovely and good and happy things, but this is so tragedy. And even though the Suppliants is ending its tragedy, I definitely believe Ukraine will have a very different ending, the happy one. I really do mean it. Thank you for the whole thing. I really do.
Thank you so much, Hayan, for your wishes across oceans. And it's really great to be connecting with Korea. And I appreciate you coming to our event. People can come for any reason and then be changed by what they hear. And I hear you saying you came to see Oscar Isaac, but then you realized that Kira was the real star, and our chorus was the real main event. And that's such a powerful revelation to make in the moment. I really appreciate it. Patty, are you with us? I know you've been dropping in and out. I think, there you are. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, it's great to see you and launching directly into your comments. Over to you, Patty.
Hi, Brian. Hello, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me. Apologies that my internet connection is not good. But I think thank you, Brian, for giving the floor to me, for me to be able to speak. Can you hear me clearly, or do you need me to be closer to my mic?
The closer the better, but we can hear you well. Thank you.
All right, super. No, I think it was really, really interesting to just to share this, this stage, as one may call it, and this place. And I think I was listening into parts of it. I'm not great at following how to kind of sit in and not to draw myself into theater, but I think that maybe that's what we all have at heart, because you can resonate to different parts of it. And I think, Brian, you and I have connected, I think, through this space, because I thought that representation was always very important, and I think you see that depicted in the play, and coming out to what the real life is. I think when we look at the scenario where we are with the war in Ukraine, the fact that the war has affected different people that lived on the territory, nationals and foreigners, not alike, but in many different ways. But some of those vulnerabilities remaining very common: the fear to their lives, the separation, the disconnection from the lands that they have been used to calling home, no matter whether, I try to speak from a perspective of foreigners that lived in Ukraine, that have called Ukraine home, and all of a sudden saw that really torn apart. So I'm really speaking, I think, from a viewpoint of those foreigners, but particularly talking about what Europe likes to call third country nationals, but that the people that I call my people, our people. And it was always very interesting as you saw people come out, and I didn't put that in my introduction, but I hope that becomes quite obvious, that I'm part of a network of African diaspora organizations that came together to support people that were fleeing out of Ukraine and didn't find a place to go and didn't know even the routes that they had to pass. And it was always very interesting. And I always remember moments like people calling and saying, "We're 10 of us." And you would say, "Who is us?" And they would just give you maybe 2 or 3 nationalities. And because the diaspora groups that we are working with are outside, and most of us are outside of Ukraine, but we have partners on the ground, grassroots organizations and local organizations in Ukraine, and even in the frontline countries that we're helping. When they would report back to let us know who has arrived at the place where we have offered accommodation, where they've been offered food and warmth, they would say to us, "Hey, listen, there were about 5 nationalities in there, 2 children, a mother and a child." And it reminds me the kind of unity and diversity that people had when they moved along. They didn't really care where people came from. Everybody was looking for safety. But then what happened on the front lines in some places, that people then got separated. So all of a sudden, as they have arrived together, they have found unity in trying to find safety. And those of us who were at the front lines, so we're talking mainly government organizations and government systems, separated people, which was a shock to the system, because they moved together and transitioned, not just living together in Ukraine and even meeting as strangers in Ukraine, but transversing a land full of emotion, full of difficulty as they moved along to arrive to safety together. But I think there's a lot we can pick from that as we sort of look at the rebuilding. And today, when we sit, and most of us speaking to foreign nationals who have come from Ukraine, who still call Ukraine home and are looking for that kind of hope, we can't wait for things to settle down. And I wanted to quote one student who said, "As soon as things settle, we're going home." And I said, "Which direction is that?" He says, "Ukraine, of course, because that's what they've called home. Some for 3 weeks, some for 30 years, some for 40 years, and some that's all they have known all their lives." So I think it gives to us, and it gives to the rest of the world, a lesson that we can learn. What can we really draw? That this is a land that many have hope for, and many who may not look like people who come from Ukraine, but still call it home. So I thought that, Brian, these reflections were very important to offer from African diaspora side, but also as a way to ensure that we have, we're taking care of everyone who has called this place home.
Thank you so much, Patty. I'm really grateful to you for reaching out and for being part of our conversation. Also, just for highlighting how this play now, it doesn't just resonate, it reverberates. We're talking about we're talking about Ukrainians who now find themselves as refugees and now immigrants, and now they are foreign nationals. But now we're also bringing back into the fold people who are foreign nationals who may come from the African diaspora or from other regions around the world who were already not without citizen or necessarily rights, but call Ukraine their home. The chorus at the end of the play is admitted into Argos, which is a kind of proxy for Athenian democracy, but they are not given citizen rights. It's very clear, and we didn't do the last lines of the play. They're foreign nationals that may live in the homes, but not enjoy the same rights as the citizens of Argos. They enjoy their protection. The complexity of this, we as a global community do not need to wait for a war or a pandemic or tragedy to strike to find these connections and to move together the way those groups were moving together in spite of the different nationalities. And I know amongst the people who are part of this project with us, the Ukrainians, there is solidarity and a desire to surface those voices. And I know Ludmila also in her work, especially as a human rights defender, works along these lines every day. So thank you so much, Patty. We really, really appreciate it. Valeria, you are next in line if you're there. There you are. If you mind unmuting yourself and launching directly into what spoke to you in today's presentation.
Hi, I'm Valeria. I'm an actor based in Vancouver, Canada. I'm Ukrainian. I immigrated in 2015 after the war started in 2014. You know, there was a line in the play, there's no path without a sacrifice. And Ukrainians knew that in 2014, when Maidan revolution started, they knew that they need to sacrifice their freedom, their safety in order to really be free. And I also wanted to say thank you for this beautiful, beautiful opportunity and this play that resonated with our hearts. What also another line is, you know, no one can take us away from our land. And this is every Ukrainian I speak to, my family and friends who are currently right now in Ukraine. Some of them are in occupied areas still and unable to live or don't want to live. They just want to stay there. They want to be there because this is their home. Right now, we're all scattered around the world, and we truly feel that we're not alone. We're fighting together, helping as much as we can, asking for support, supporting, and it truly is, Ukraine has identified as a very resilient nation. And it definitely gives a little bit of hope. So thank you so much for this lovely opportunity, and Slava Ukraini.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Valeria. Yeah, some people often ask us, where is the hope in the tragedy that you perform? I would argue that the hope is not in the play necessarily, because much violence still awaits the people in the play and many challenges. The hope is in the audience that gathers globally to bear witness to the truth of what they saw in the play that speaks to their experience. The hope is in that we can come together in this way that you're modeling. It's not simply one group of Ukrainians, and by Ukrainians, I also mean foreign nationals who are living in Ukraine, seeking asylum at borders. It's Ukrainians globally all over the world, bringing voice to their experiences and sharing their truths. So thank you, Valeria. I really appreciate it. Also, I'm struck also, you talk about you're an actor. You know, I was listening to the deliveries of our chorus today, and it never ceases to amaze me how people who are living the truth of the experience described in our play bring a truth to the reading in spite of the challenges of language that no actor training could ever achieve. What is acting? What is storytelling? And to me, it's about truth. And how do we find that truth? I mean, there was truth in the film actors' performances, and there's truth in what Kira said, and there's truth in what you said. You know, we tell stories so we can find our way to the truth. Irena, you have been waiting patiently. Over to you next. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and joining our conversation.
Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that I had a chance to talk. My family were from Kherson, and we immigrated a very long time ago. So I speak a mix of Ukrainian and Russian. So I'm just very grateful to speak now. Doing theater at a time when Ukraine is on fire, and I just popped into Instagram and saw that air raid sirens were going off almost everywhere. It just brings a greater urgency for me as an actor as well, to speak about my culture, also speak about my cultural identity, and also to grieve loudly. And there was a line in the play, which is an altar is always stronger than a wall. And that just hit me because as a theater artist, we have this beautiful opportunity to really present that. And I think not a lot of people really talk about this, but in our culture, in the Ukrainian culture, we gather around the table and we share stories. Where our culture is a beautiful tapestry of stories that's knit together by family lines and ancestry. And since February 24th, we gather around the table and talk about, Chernobyevka, or even childhood memories that we thought that we had lost, or talking about who we miss, or possibly even trying to identify who's possibly gone, because that could be a family member or a friend. So I think just seeing all of your faces, hearing your voices, seeing Ukrainians on the screen, in a time like this where a rocket could come and fly into the screen at any second, it just means so much. And this is a love letter to all of you with us, that if you are Ukrainian, I need you alive. And I would love to meet with you in Kyiv, grab takeout coffee and pick chestnuts with you and just hold you. So I appreciate seeing all of you, and Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
Героям слава.
Thank you so much, Irene. I really appreciate it. Sam, I believe you are next. If you don't mind, I'm Hi, Sam.
My name's Sam, and I'm a student. As a citizen of Myanmar, I'm familiar with the feeling of the bad guys planning working, though our enemy is our own military. I just want to say I sympathize with the citizens of Ukraine. The play, unfortunately, is still relatable to many cultures and countries today. It's one thing to read about what's happening, the tragedies. It's another thing to really hear it from people experiencing it. It's 1 a.m. here, but I'm glad I joined to listen to this performance. I just wanted to say you have friends and people who are going through the same thing, and people who are not. I hope our people have a happy future, and I hope it comes quick.
Thank you so much, Sam. I really appreciate the sentiment.
Brian, can I speak? Yes, Sam,
Yeah.
thank you for this note. And I think just as much as we hold the violence against Ukrainians, in my view, and I think it's been mentioned, no person in the world deserves violence and war. And I hope we all as a world, through this, come together and really address wars and violence everywhere. And so that I thank you for you, and I hope you too and your community safe, and you thank you for the presence you have for Ukraine.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as was brought into this by Irena, this statement that an altar is always stronger than a wall. I would maybe, since it's my translation, say a sacred space is always stronger than a wall. That we all go to Zoom and we have these banal exchanges and we get sick of Zoom, but forget Zoom. Here we are we're in this sacred space that we've created across borders and boundaries, making connections and global consciousness together, as Dimitro mentioned. And that is always stronger than division. And it's always stronger than fortification. And I'm just grateful that we can have this exchange, as Sam mentioned, and I'm wishing safety and wellness to you, Sam, as well. Nastasia, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Thank you very much for this reading. It was very important, and I would say that my favorite line was read by Danaus. I don't know the specific line, but it says at least we are safe. At last we're safe and we are protected, which is a very important thing today for Ukrainians, because all of us are waiting for hope. This is the first important thing that are everybody, each person I know is speaking today about. And we've been living in the new normality from 2020. Then everything became great in Ukraine, and we have to find a new normality in 2022. So everything that is said in the script is our normality today. But the hope is basically the thing that we still don't have. This safe space, this protection that we are still needed. And my friends right now are coming back to Ukraine. A lot of them are coming back to Ukraine from abroad, because the first thing that war takes away is the dignity. The beginning of the play is this point of not having the dignity. We have to ask for everything, and this is the most this is the most tough thing to do. That's why basically we come back to not safety space, to what is happening right now, just because we want to come home where we can be ourselves.
Thank you so much, Nastasia. I really appreciate that. That the choice between having dignity and a sense of humanity and potentially violence and even death is not a small one. And that you sharpen our focus on the moment that there's no resolution to this conflict. There is no clarity about what's going to happen. There's no safety. There is no one who can look into a crystal ball and knows what's going to happen. And the stories that I read in the paper today are about potentially different countries within Europe, not mentioning, beginning to flag in their sustainment of Ukraine, questions about the delivery of weapons in a timely manner, questions about the global community choosing a sort of artillery war that is endless rather than choosing to help end the war in a quick way because it's more expedient and better for those countries. These questions hang over this moment of great precariousness for Ukraine and the consequences that will come to us, in Ludmila's quote. And it is hard to witness, and it is challenging to acknowledge our own complicit role as Westerners or people outside of Ukraine in the suffering that we're hearing about. But I think most important, I appreciate you acknowledging that more than anything else, even perhaps more than safety, dignity and humanity is what's most important to many Ukrainians. And that's why many people, like the ones you've mentioned, I know Ludmila as well, chose to stay, many of our chorus members, and others didn't have the choice. Whether their lives were taken from them or they had to flee to safety with their families. So thank you so much, Anastasia. I really appreciate everything you brought. Maria Laura, I believe that's your name. You are next. Thank you so much.
Hola, my name is Laura. I'm from Argentina. I'm sorry, my pronunciation is very bad.
That was great.
I want to thank you for this opportunity. I just want to say, we are with you, Ukraine. Estamos con ustedes. Mucha fuerza. Eso es lo que quería decir. Mucha fuerza y gracias por estos testimonios.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Laura. We really appreciate it. It's great to hear from Argentina. We've heard from Canada. We've heard from Malaysia. We've heard from Korea. You've heard from the United States. We're so grateful for the global offerings and wishes, and also people expressing themselves in their own languages. And we are not yet to the point where we can translate them all simultaneously. But even though many of us don't speak Spanish, I could feel the sentiment of what you said. And I'm so glad you expressed it in the way that you did just now. Thank you so much. Hiromi, going to Japan, I believe. It's great to see you, Hiromi. Over to you.
Hey guys. Yes, I hope you can hear me well.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, first of all, yeah, I just wanted to, yeah, there is one part where Kira's character said like something along the lines of foreigners don't come to take things, but to bring blessings. And I kind of wanted to bring my experience with my grandparents. I'm a mix of Latin and Japanese and Italian and many other cultures, and my grandparents moved to Colombia as immigrants before World War II, and there my mother was born, and then she moved to Venezuela, and then I'm here in Japan back again as my grandparents. And I just wanted to speak about the being immigrant and how immigrants bring something to other countries, and also yeah, as the character says, like is foreigners don't come to take things but to bring blessings. So I kind of wanted to bring that. And also another thing that Oscar conversation with the Suppliants, the things in common and how these things are very powerful. And me being living in different places over the years kind of make me be conscious of this, and also another thing that I wanted to bring up is how to break the cycle of violence that you mentioned. I think as an immigrant in very different countries, I just want you to know that people will take you no matter where you're from. It's just that it's a different culture, and people might be a little bit more different beliefs and different things, but in the end of the day, most of the people are very welcoming and very loving. So don't let people that are not kind to take you away of this idea that we're all united and we all care for everyone. So yeah, I just wanted to say that very quickly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hiromi. Are you in Japan? Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm in Japan.
Well, I just want to thank you. It's 3:43 in the morning in Japan.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for staying up all night to be part of this conversation. And
no, it's okay. Thank you.
For the you're clearly a night owl. I appreciate you doing it though. But the extension of solidarity, but also the acknowledgement that having experienced being an immigrant, and I love this idea, the suppliant in English, but it can, it doesn't translate perfectly in other languages, in Greek, but to other languages, in ancient Greece is a sacred figure. To harm a suppliant is to bring a curse upon yourself. But a suppliant that is helped, that is honored, that is sacred, treated as sacred, brings blessings. And I feel like you're extending it beyond suppliants. Immigrants also bring blessings.
Yeah.
The blessings of their ingenuity, the blessings of their energy, the blessings of the culture that they bring to the place that they're coming. Yeah. The play also acknowledges the fears that countries have when receiving what else comes across our border.
Totally.
When we let people across the border. And that's why I like this, because we can humanize and acknowledge and amplify the blessings, and also acknowledge that there are people who have fears, and then we can talk about why those fears exist and hopefully dismantle those fears and address those.
Yes.
So thank you so much for your comments. It's great to hear from you in Japan. And wishing you safety and wellness as well. AJ, you have been waiting for some time. AJ, if you don't mind unmuting yourself, we'll go over to you next.
Hello everyone, добрый день, меня зовут Адам. Я просто хочу сказать слава Украине. I just want to say
Героям слава.
Yeah, thank you very much everyone. Actually, I'm a Nigerian, and then I've been in Ukraine for like over 4 years. I cannot just start to tell you how heartbreaking it is for us to see what the society that we have called home for over like 4 years have turned out to be now. I do have friends. Basically, the memories of 4 years ago is just of Ukraine. Every time we go to Kyiv, we go to the Maidan, we spend some times there. We always go for a lot of things. I'm a big fan of borscht. I always go to eat food in local restaurants in every city in every city that I go. I remember even last summer, we were in Carpathian mountains in Ukraine. We always go with our friends who are Ukrainians, but now every time you kind of speak with them on phone, it's just so sad to see that that happiness is no more there. And the fact that this is home to thousands and thousands of international students. Ukraine has become a hub to a lot of students, be it medical students, whatever it is that you are. Ukraine is a home where you get the food are so good, the people are, it's just a blessing to be in such a place. The life is so easy, it's so beautiful. You get everything quite affordable. The people are so friendly, and the fact that all of this is happening, you cannot just help to always look at the news and see what is happening, and the fact that it keeps on happening and the world is watching. And even though a lot of things are being done, we just feel like there's a lot more that can be done. These are humans, we are people. This is 2022. This is not the 90s anymore. This is a civilized society. We cannot. I'm currently now in Poland, definitely, but coming here and to see how the Polish people were very, very accepting, and they really loved. They accepted everyone that was coming from Ukraine. The world itself is helping, but I do feel like the world can do a lot more than that to support Ukraine in these dark moments, because it could be any nation, right? This is Europe. This is not a place that you'd say it's used to violence or anything. And if people are coming from other parts of the world, they would say, this is one of these civilized societies that people can come to. And to see such things happening, it's quite disheartening to see everything that's happening. I just hope everything will turn out to be good. And then certain things that are happening within Ukraine too, as international students now, I just want to plead on behalf of all other students that, Ukraine is home to everyone, definitely. And all of us have left Ukraine, but, there are certain rules that does not apply to us because we are international students, but, we see ourselves as part of Ukraine. Some of us, have girlfriends that are Ukrainians. We have friends. We spend nights together. We tend to go to schools together. We spend all the time. And still, so many things are just very difficult. It's difficult for Ukrainians for sure. It's difficult for our friends, but it's a lot difficult for we that are not Ukrainians ourselves here, because it's difficult for us to change schools because of our nationality and everything. But most of the countries would suggest go back to your country. You don't have to wait for Ukraine, but we feel like this is a society that wherever we are, we will have to stick together, and then they would have to see us, because now, if I go back to Nigeria and every foreigner goes back, nobody in these lands will be talking about Ukraine except for Ukrainians. But if we are here, we say we stand for Ukraine. We want to see that Ukraine have gotten the justice so that we'll go back to Ukraine, and all the contributions, the positive contribution that we can do to build it back, because Ukraine is giving us our future. We get education, where we cannot get it anywhere else in a very, very affordable manner. And then we'd like, all the countries to recognize us too as Ukrainian, as refugees that are coming from Ukraine. We should be granted equal opportunity because this is our society. We cannot be part of Ukraine and then come out here and we would be separated from our fellow Ukrainians because we feel like we are all the same family. And then, our heart and prayers goes to Ukraine. I'm currently in Poland. I always go to the places to see, я розумію українську мові трошки, але не дуже погано, але я дуже пробую. But we always go to see what can we help, with the little Ukrainian that we do know to support. And we just want the world to know that, we are part of Ukraine. We have come from Ukraine. We are supposed to be part of this society. And we are going to stand here to see that that society in whatever country of the world that we go, it gets the justice that it deserves. And then it goes back to be the strong Ukraine that it is. And thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, AJ.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not just hearing your perspective as someone who is not from a Ukrainian citizen, but work as a student in Ukraine. It's also the way you've complexified and broadened the conversation to say, this is my commitment. I'm part of these people. This people is my people. And that you would choose that even after 4 years is so compelling and so powerful and such an important voice. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Avril, you are next, and then we might have time for one or two more max after that. But Avril, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for this beautiful play. This is the first time I attend an event like this, and I am so touched for everything that you did, and I stand with you for everything that you're going through. In my country, we are also at war, but with the government, and I'm kind of rooting for talking about this end of the cycle of violence, because throughout history of my country, it's always been violence, and how it's been a long story of dictators, and how in the 1979 we had a revolution, a proper war, with a lot of death, broken families, trauma that hasn't really been talked about, and kind of like you just shoveled and forgotten about. But we all kind of know what happened, but never dared to talk about it. And now, well, in 2018, it happened again. It was just a revolution to install another dictatorship. And in 2018, we had to go through it all over again. And I've seen families broken, torn apart. Like mine, half of my family had to migrate to another country because we were being persecuted, because there's no, freedom of speech. And it's just so important to have spaces like this, where you can express yourself, you can address these issues that in the end, sadly, unite us, because a lot of countries have gone through the same things all over again. And, I don't have the answer to, I wish I did, to ending the cycle of violence, but at least we try to do something different. My generation in 2018, to not go for an armed fight, just to fight with our voices, and many voices were silenced as well. But to me, it is heartwarming to be here in a free and safe space to talk about these things, because we can do it. And I relate to your pain, but certainly I've been a lucky person and I haven't lived the horrors of a war. But know that even though many of us haven't lived these kind of things, we stand with you. We encourage you to keep fighting, and that you have hope all around the world. And you give us hope, even though we're not the same country, we don't speak the same language, we are far away from you. But it's this kind of things, this kind of expressions of art that unite us, because we all seek for well-being, for love, for safety, for liberty. And I'm just so happy to be here. I'm just so happy to have joined this meeting and to get to know, your amazing stories. And I hope that it turns out okay, more than okay, that it turns out fantastic for you, that your country can take back everything that has been taken away from it, and to have better lives. I really wish you well, and Viva Ucrania. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Avril, are you speaking from within your country?
Yes, I am.
Well, that takes courage too, given what you just said.
Yes, it's a difficult situation, really, because, well, it's like everyone has stopped talking about the things and their political opinions, but we all know. Like it's horrible, because we have this kind of false sense of safety, and the streets are plagued with police officers, and they're always armed, and to the littlest expression of freedom, like you get in jailed, beaten up, abducted, and they try to keep you that way, silenced. Right now, over 1,000 NGOs have been closed, and a lot of them regarding human rights and education, and just the ones that advocate for the people, because they are linked to the opposition, the people that actually want a free country. And it's just the government trying to invent whatever reason to put them in jail and get them silenced. It's been hard, and I haven't experienced, on firsthand half of it, but I know people that have been forced to migrate to other countries that are really close to me, and how it's been crushing for them to ask for asylum, to not be able to be in their country, and having their rights taken away, not feeling safe, being harassed. It's a nightmare, and it's been like this for over 40 years, and we want to change it, but it's it seems hopeless, and I really wish to think that it's not, and that's why, well, I wanted to join this event as well, to seek for hope and to feel less alone, less trapped in here.
Thank you so much, Avril.
Thank you.
It's so powerful to hear you speak. One, also in hearing you speak, understand the stakes of what Ukraine is fighting for, freedom. of expression, liberty, democracy, safety. But just as our Ukrainian participants are speaking from places where there are air raid sirens happening outside, it takes immense courage, I think, for you to say what you've said as well. And we're grateful to you for your participation. We have only time for, unfortunately, one more person, and then maybe one of the panelists, if you want to just respond in some ways, a kind of last word. And I'm sorry, I can't read the Ukrainian name, but it begins with an
Anna.
A. Ala.
Anna.
Okay, Anna, you are next.
Ala.
Ala, over to you, please.
Hello, I'm speaking from Belarus, from Minsk, and I'd like to say that Belarusians are also seeing the same situation as the previous speaker described. We also have a dictatorship, we also lack freedom, we lack safety, and for 2 last years, Belarusians have also fled their country, and many of them came to Ukraine as refugees. So Ukrainians gave them shelter, and we are all interconnected. Not only Ukrainians are seeking shelter now, but they have also given shelter to others. And it is important to remember that we are all connected in that way. It may happen to anyone. And I wanted to emphasize the performance, Oscar performance. I think he embodied such a protective figure, which Ukraine lacks now, because Ukraine needs protection. It asks for protection, but not the response is not fully okay. It's not enough. And the way the king willed to protect the vulnerable is very powerful, and it's very important for everyone in the world to hear, so that maybe they want to stand up, and maybe they just want to protect Ukrainians too. Maybe there is not enough done in the world to protect them. I want to thank Oscar for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ala.
Ala, I really appreciate that. And it's great to bring in Belarusian perspective, and also to acknowledge that Ukrainians have played the role of Palaskas. And that who is Palaskas? Someone wrote a kind of mean-spirited email to me before we got started and said, is this just going to glorify the United States? I don't know if the United States is Palaskas. We shall see. But we know that Ukraine has been Palaskas, and we know other countries have been Palaskas. And what does it mean to be Palaskas to one another, to sacrifice sometimes everything on behalf of other people that you don't know? This is a really powerful question to bring into the end, and I do also appreciate Oscar's performance. We've gone a little over our time, and I'm sorry we have to cut off our audience because we have 25 hands that were up still. We're not going to get to them all, but just again, this is the first of what we hope will be other performances of this project, and we're hoping that our chorus will come back and continue this work, and we'll continue to expand the chorus to include other voices as well. And but maybe there's someone among the chorus who, listening to what the world has said today, that had something burning within you to say back. And out of deference for you, I see Kira has something to say. We'll give Kira the last word of this conversation. Over to you. No pressure, Kira.
I'm really grateful to hear all of this words of guys, because it's really important in these difficult times. And I really, sometimes guys also have this hard situation, and I feel sorry for that, really. And thank you for your support, because right now you are helping us to survive. You're helping Ukraine to survive, and you're helping us to deal with this war. So really, I'm really grateful, and that's my big heart for you all. You are over here in my heart, and You were really cool guys. Thank you.
There it is, straight from Kira's 12-year-old lips to the world. Thank you so much, Kira. Does anyone else want to say anything? Because I don't want to. I didn't mean to take anything from Olena or Ludmila or Olena.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for everybody, because we really need to feel this support. And now when we feel that so many people in different countries, far away, in Japan, in Argentina, support us, we really feel that we can do this, we can survive, and we can win this war, and we deserve to live in free Ukraine and to live our lives, the lives we choose by ourselves. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Olena. Ludmila, yeah.
I can, please. Yes, I also would like to thank each and every one who was today following this this performance and who supports us, because your support is meaning a lot to us, and we understand that we are not alone in front of this war by ourselves, because like when you are feeling that you are alone, so you sometimes you don't feel the courage to fight more. But during the war, after the February's like escalation, I feel that really all world is with us, and this war not just against Ukraine, this war against the love, against humanity, against any civilized things, against all that is beautiful, against all what have life, because Russia now is killing all what is alive in Ukraine, not because we did something wrong, but just because we gained something beautiful. We have something better, and they want us to go back in this civilization way, So I really felt appreciate that you all together with us and gave us big support, because it's encouraging us to fight forward, to have some power, and to reach our goals, and to reach in the end our freedom. And I would like to say to all people who are fighting for their liberty and freedom, and freedoms, like many freedoms we can have. Ukraine was in those stage where we were fighting even for freedom of speech. And we, after the events, after the Euromaidan revolution, we gained our freedoms, and we built our country as a free country, as a world of freedom, as many people say to us, for 9 years, for 8 years after 2014 events. But someone wants to take it from us. But anyhow, how to break this cycle of violations? You have to fight for yourselves, because our parents, our ancestors was not able to fight. We have to fight right now, but we are doing it for our future, for our children. So that maybe you have to do for your future and for your children, as Ukraine did. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to thank all of our amazing chorus members. I want to thank Oksana for giving the gift of reaching out to us, to starting this dialogue. I want to thank Oscar, Willem, and David for joining us, and all of the many people who joined us on screen and off. This has been one of the most powerful things certainly we've ever done, and over thousands of performances all over the world. And we look forward to doing more. It's only the beginning, as mentioned. At the end of every Theater of War Productions event, we have a benediction. I'm going to say it. It's not meant to tie a bow on the conversation. We could never finish this conversation, even if we went for hours and hours. But we began a conversation that can't be resolved, but I hope it'll continue to radiate out of this sacred space we've created together and into your places of work and worship, into your homes, into the places where you're seeking safety, and that you will continue this conversation. And for those of you who feel motivated and inspired to act, again, we put into the chat the organizations, including Good Bread, including the organization that Mila works for, Defending Human Rights, including many other organizations that our chorus recommends to you for sustaining Ukraine and helping them to survive. If you've related to anything that's been said in the last 2 hours and 13 minutes, know this: you're not alone in this room that we've created together, as evidenced by the conversation we've started. You are not alone across your country. You are not alone across the world. You are not alone across time. And if that is all you heard, then our work will have been well served. But if you heard more and it made you want to keep talking, and also more importantly to act, then our work will have exceeded our expectations. After an early performance of one of our projects, when I asked the question, why did the playwright write this play? Someone stood up and said something we say at the end of every performance. This woman, a female general, stood up and she said, I think the play was written to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. And I hope we did a little of both for everyone here. Comfort that we can come together across very disparate, sometimes challenging boundaries and borders and lines. Comfort that we can make connections through a play, and that actually there is value in telling a story together, even during war, to achieve dignity and humanity, and to acknowledge each other's humanity. Afflicted that this precarious moment, there is so much more work to be done to address the suffering of Ukrainians, not just in Ukraine, but now all over the world, and also those who call themselves Ukrainians, who come from other parts of the world and are living in solidarity with Ukrainians, both in the country and outside. And it's with that sense of comfort and affliction that we leave you with the hope that it leads to more conversation and more action and more direct dialogue across borders and boundaries. This performance we have one more performance under the banner of Theater of War Productions this month, and we're actually going to invite you in the chat to that one. It's a radically different subject, but it touches many of the same, which is we're going to be doing a project called Women of Trachis about death and dying and about witnessing suffering, framed by the perspectives of hospice and palliative care nurses and home health aides in the United States. We put the link in the chat. We welcome all of you to come to our next performance of that project, and to all the ones that subsequently you're now on our mailing list, whether you like it or not. You'll be hearing from us until you silence those emails, inviting you to come to more performances. But until we see you the next time, and you can also follow us at Theater of War, spelled THEATER of War, at Theater of War, and learn more about what's coming next. Until we see you again, especially to our Ukrainian friends and allies and those who've collaborated with us, we are sending you our blessings for peace and safety. And we hope this has been sustaining for you and for your country on the road ahead. I know that we are with you and we are thinking about you. And I know we'll be seeing each other again very soon. Thank you again with immense gratitude. Be well, be safe. And we will see you again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.
Mhm.